Welcome everybody to the DeepThought podcast. My name is Yusuf, and today I'm joined with my co-hosts Mendy.
What's up, guys?
Umit.
Yo.
And we also have a special guest, Umit's friend over here out in Colorado, Pierre.
What's good, guys?
So, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but last Tuesday, we were supposed to release an episode, but me and Mendy decided to take a trip to Colorado, and that is why we're releasing a week late. So, moving on, we are out here in Colorado, and we just wanted to talk about our different experience compared to Pennsylvania. Me and Mendy specifically, and Umit's friend over here, Pierre, he's also not a native to Colorado. He's from Ohio, so he can also touch in a little bit about the difference between Ohio and Denver. And so, I guess, does anyone want to start specifically? Maybe you, Umit, since you've been here the longest?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I definitely prefer Denver to Philly. That's crystal clear to me. I'm happy I moved out here. I don't know. It's just less dirty. Like, here we have alleys between streets where people, have dumpsters.
That's a bit debatable.
Well, in Philly, you literally put your trash on the street, and then
True.
the squirrels and animals rip them apart by the time the people come. And if they notice the bag is ripped, they don't pick it up. The trash men don't take it. So it just, flies across the street.
You guys picked to live there?
Yeah.
I mean, this is kind of where we grew up. We went to Temple.
I had no choice, so.
So this is why one of the reasons why I'm happy not to be there. Yes, we have people who live in tents, unfortunately, here, when they obviously deserve adequate housing, but, the streets are still cleaner even with that. That's how big of a difference it is. That's one of the things. And I don't know, just nature and everything. It's just amazing out here in Colorado.
Yeah, I could definitely attest to the trash part. I haven't seen, I think I've only seen a handful of trash just laying around on the streets. It's just they're doing a really good job with their garbage management system, or people are here just more aware of, throwing their garbage out actually into the garbage can rather than just throwing it on the ground. What about you, Mendy? Is there anything that specifically stands out between here in Pennsylvania? Philadelphia specifically?
Yeah, I mean, Umit touched on it, and you too, Yusuf, you guys pretty much touched on it. The cities are very different in that in Philly, I feel it's more crowded and there's less movement space, and here it's more wide, and you can even literally see the nature beyond where we currently are in University of Denver, correct? Yeah. So you can literally see what's beyond, and in Philly it's just you just see buildings everywhere and you're just in the middle of it. So we grew up, or rather we went to school in pretty much the heart of Philly in Temple University, so you only see buildings around you, and beyond that is just sky. But here you can see the mountain ranges, and that's very, very different than what we're accustomed to. So beyond that, Umit touched on the pollution with the trash and stuff. So that's also a big thing. Here, I just feel the air is just cleaner, and I don't know, just walking on the street here, I just feel more fresh than maybe I would be in Philadelphia. So it's a nice experience here the past 4 or 5 days. Yeah, but that's, I guess, my first touching points on the differences between Denver and Philly. Yeah,
I would definitely agree. I know you said this, Mendy, when we first landed, how when you're looking out the window through the plane, you can see everything in a few 100-mile radius. It's just so flat. On one side you have the Rockies, and then looking the complete opposite way towards east, you see just literally plains upon plains. Yeah. And that's just something, that I've only seen through pictures and TV and whatnot, but it's just insane to see this in person. I just was kind of mind blown. And even the mountains too, seeing that up close. We did go up into the mountains. We'll talk a little bit more in detail about where we went and what we did. But just experiencing it for yourself is so much more, appealing, and, it's just a whole nother, experience.
Yeah, no, I hear you 100%. Yep.
So what about you, Pierre? What would you say is, anything that stands out between here and Ohio?
It's a little bit more of a unique situation now that I'm hearing your guys' side, because So I was pretty much raised in Ohio, and I graduated from the Ohio State University. It's Columbus is a pretty big city too, but it's less of a city lifestyle. So I guess with that difference, it's not too crazy coming to Denver. And I also recently got a job, so I'm living in a different place now. So I'm seeing other parts of Colorado, and some parts look similar to Ohio, but at the end of the day, you could always see mountains wherever you are, and the sky is always super clear. So it's just a whole vibe. I mean, you could probably see like the Windows 95 background in a mountain range wherever you go.
Yeah.
So you don't really get that in Ohio, that's for sure.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. It's just picturesque pretty much wherever you look.
Yeah.
So you said you specifically grew up in Columbus, Ohio. How would you say the city layout specifically compares to Denver here?
Easy. I hate the layout in Denver. It's terrible. It makes no sense. I would think Umit could attest to this. There's a lot of random curvy roads. Roads go into triangles. It's not a grid at all. Where in Columbus, it's like 1st Street, 2nd Street. It's literally just a grid. It's super simple. If I didn't have GPS, I probably would have gotten lost and died downtown. But, we got technology, so I'm better than that.
Yeah.
It's complex.
Yeah, it's definitely weird going from Philly, which is pretty much straightforward, like up, down, left, right, like everything's in squares.
Mm-hmm.
Every once in a while you got one road that'll go diagonally, but most of the time everything's like pretty organized. Whereas over here, I don't know, I feel like you can tell that the city was sort of built as it went along, kind of, where like you'll have lots of roads that curve and turn in different directions, and all of a sudden you go from a two-way to a one-way, and then like, I don't know, definitely get some weird roads layout wise, but it's definitely wider, a lot wider than Philly. Like Philly's much more concentrated than Denver.
Yeah, Philly is pretty much a squeeze between the Schuylkill and the Delaware. You have obviously parts of it spilling out towards west, where the universities are, UPenn and Drexel. And I know when I was studying a little bit of Philadelphia history, William Penn, he and other architectures, they got together and they did lay out the city before they even laid any brick or anything at all. So I feel like could be, that's a main factor as to why the city does seem a little bit more organized than other cities when you compare it. I personally feel like the layout here is, for you guys it may not make sense, but looking at it from top down, when I looked at the maps, it looked pretty grid-like. Like it was just squares next to each other. It looked pretty organized to me. I don't know when it comes to store layout or stores being placed on certain spots. Maybe that doesn't make sense. Would you guys say like that's a part of it as well? Maybe it's just like the layout of the community specifically that's kind of confusing?
You just got to drive in it.
Got to drive through the experience.
That's the big thing, yeah. Because you'll find random lanes just appear out of absolute nowhere, and then your lane will just disappear, and you have to merge real quick. But you don't know where you're going, so you don't know that you have to merge. So you'll just find yourself on the other side of downtown.
I did kind of notice that a bit when we're driving around. Yeah. There's literally like you have like the freeway, for example. You have like it'll be 6 lanes, and then all of a sudden 2 lanes just start merging in, and
it happens fast.
Yeah, like you said, you just got to get used to it, really.
Yeah.
And another thing I would also point out when we first touched down and got out of the airport is the humidity.
You got?
We'll talk about that.
It's a big airport.
Forget the airport for now. The atmosphere here, like the weather, it's very different. There's like little to no humidity here. The only thing I would say I don't like is that the sun is killer. Like you can literally go from the shade and it'll be super cool. You'll be very comfortable. And once you step out into the sun, I just felt super uncomfortable. The sun's just beating down on you. Like I recently just shaved my head, so that's even like I can feel it even more on my bald head.
You get burnt.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing, Umit also pointed out too. There's no mosquitoes. That's not really due to the humidity, but that's just really mainly because there's no like lakes or huge bodies of water that are just like creating swamp-like features and things like that.
Yeah, not so much in the city of Denver, just because there's no, like, if you go to like the parks where they actually have a lake, you can definitely find mosquitoes, but like if you're not near a body of water, like you'll definitely won't feel it. If you go to the mountains, it depends how high you go. Like once you get past a certain altitude, there's no more mosquitoes. But like if you go to a lake below that altitude, it'll be covered in mosquitoes.
Yeah, so bad.
It definitely depends. But generally, like where we're staying, there's not really any big bodies of water. Like we're kind of distant from the lakes around here or the lakes in the city. That like the artificial lakes they have too, so that's why you won't really feel it. But like if we tonight decided to go for a walk in the park, you definitely feel some mosquitoes. But like this area, not so much.
Yeah. So where do we go first? Like, did we go on a hike first? What did we do? I can't remember.
So we first arrived here on Monday, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong.
we Monday and we didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, we didn't go anywhere just because we were tired from the trip, just the flight in general. So we arrived here on Monday. Umit came and picked us up, and that was like an hour drive from.
It's 30 minutes.
Oh, 30 minutes. So an hour total drive.
Yeah.
There and back. He brought us back, and then. We kind of settled down, just checked out his new place, and then we just ordered food, I believe, to start off our trip. And then we just kind of chilled out. But the first place that we actually went to was on Tuesday, and we went to Garden of the Gods.
Yeah, that's where it was.
If I'm not mistaken, yeah. And so that was cool because where in Philly do you find spacious land that has orange rocks everywhere like that? I don't know. It was very cool. That's another thing with coming out here to the West. Like, just there's more nature. Like, there's just straight up more nature than you would have in Philly, which is very obvious because when you think of Philly, you don't really think of trees. You think of buildings and streets. So when we came out here, it's just. Even when we're driving on the highway, like there's so much openness and you just see so much, like things are just spread out. I think Umit said like Denver's wider. I don't.
It's a wide city.
So yeah, it's just things are open. But yeah. So we went to Garden of the Gods and that was cool. It was a little drizzly, but like I think it made the experience fun. It wasn't as hot as Yusuf was pointing out earlier. But
well, the sun was because it was raining, so the sun wasn't out as much.
Yeah. So we kind of just traveled around there, took a couple pictures at the rocks, and just hiked through some of the trails, and that was a really cool experience to start off our trip here. It wasn't anything super extensive. It was like a nice light experience. But yeah, so I think that was a really cool experience for me. I don't know about you, Yusuf, but
yeah, I kind of hated it and I kind of liked it. If it wasn't raining, honestly, I would enjoyed it fully.
Then you would have complained about the sun, though.
Yeah. Ideally, there should have just been cloud coverage and no rain.
But that's rare. Like
that's
Denver in this area, I think
clouds or no clouds and it's raining if it has clouds.
Yeah, I've actually kind of noticed that. Like even when it's like not raining, you'll be like little splotches of cloud coverage, but you won't have like full cloud coverage without any rain.
It's not like the East.
Yeah.
It's not gray out here.
It's like at least 300 days of the year, it's just pure sun.
Yeah, it's like the most sunlight in the entire country.
Wow. I didn't even know that. That's interesting.
That's interesting.
But yeah, with the so my experience at the Garden of the Gods, I thought the place was pretty cool. The rocks there were, like Mendy mentioned, they're orange. So I kind of felt like I was in like the Grand Canyon, because whenever I see pictures of it, there's always like those orange rocks and like clay formations or whatnot. And the pictures we took there it was pretty cool. We got up to one of the tops. I don't know, where was it that we went up to? Was it just
like a lookout point that they have there?
Oh, okay, yeah. But yeah, you get a nice view of the Garden of the Gods. And you guys, what'd you guys say at the top of it was? It was like two camels kissing or something like that?
You can see two camels kissing, but apparently Yusuf was unable to see it.
They're not two camels kissing.
Mendy, you saw the two camels, right?
Yeah, I saw it, but
it's all
perception, so maybe you saw something else.
Two rocks at the top with a hole in it. That was not two camels kissing, dude.
Some people have more imagination than others, but
however,
anyways.
I did see an iguana on the side of the mountain.
Okay, here we go.
Dude, Mendy, you said you saw it too.
Did I? I probably did.
Yeah, you said. I said it looked like a chameleon. Umit said it looked like an iguana. And then we just agreed that it looked like a lizard.
Don't those look the exact same?
No.
I don't know what.
What's the difference?
I think iguanas are a lot larger and more green. Chameleons
got those weird eyes.
Yeah, they have eyes that stick out.
And chameleons
but from a distance, can you just see its eyes are bulging out? Like,
I could probably tell,
Yeah,
honestly, because chameleons are probably the size.
Yeah.
Y'all got good eyes.
I mean,
Well, how much of a distance are we talking? Are we talking like 10,
I don't know. That's what I'm asking.
if I'm like if I'm right here,
No, I'm saying in the
chameleons-
situation at the Garden of the Gods.
Oh, from
How
that
far were you?
distance?
Yeah, it actually.
Oh
happened.
well, yeah. It's like I don't even know where the spot was because it's not like located on or signified on the
It
trail.
was close enough that you would be able to make out what species it was. Like,
Yeah,
I'll take it.
and we looked.
I guess we'll settle for that.
I noticed it when we were at the lookout point where we took the pictures. So that was pretty far. I would say it was probably around like 200, 300, maybe even close to 400 meters.
And you saw it and you were able to tell what.
It looked like I looked like an iguana head or a chameleon head.
If you guys are super into taking nature pictures, this is a spot to go to.
Yes.
Because there, again, like we mentioned, there are these gigantic rocks, and if you're safe enough, you can climb up to certain points and take pictures of yourself or your significant others or whatever. So it's cool, and you can I took a couple panoramas, and I normally never take them, so it's like built for taking pictures, honestly. The nature there is phenomenal. There's so much lush green. And then you have, again, it was cloudy on that day. So you would just see it was like a cool gray silhouette of the mountains in the background. So it was just such an awesome experience to take pictures of it, really.
Yeah, speaking of the silhouette of the mountains, it looks so much better with clear skies.
Oh, yeah.
When we were driving up. So the next day after the Garden of the Gods, we went to... Was it the lake that we went to?
Yeah, St. Mary's Glacier.
Yeah, St. Mary's Glacier. So that place, it's at the top of, almost at the top of one of the mountains in that area. And the drive up there, the road is just winding, obviously, because we're climbing up the mountain. And, like, the view is just amazing. Like, because you're going from these Great Plains of around in Denver, and you're just driving right into the mountains. And the transition is just, like, we took so many pictures, me and Mendy. And then once we finally got up to the top, we had to do what was it, like a 30-minute hike or something like that.
Yeah, it was about 30 minutes to the lake from where you start, from the parking lot.
Yeah, so like we did a 30-minute hike up there, which was killer for me. These two, Mendy and Umit, didn't really have trouble, but I'm not as fit as them. So once we got up there, it was pretty cool. It was breathtaking. There was a nice,
Literally breathtaking.
yeah, because we were at a high altitude, and I was exhausted too. But the lake, it was just so nice. There's a natural glacier at the top of the mountain that was had water flowing from it. So the water looked super clean and pure. Mendy and Umit, they jumped into the lake, and tell me guys about your experience with that. How was it, Mendy?
Yeah, so we were touching on like the acclimation to the height. They were saying how like it's breathtaking. That is the case. I mean, I didn't have too much trouble going up, for like 30 minutes, but like you can definitely feel more strain trying to hike up in Colorado than as if you might have been in Pennsylvania with some of the local trails. But yeah, it's very different there. But with the lake, it was Umit's idea to take us to St. Mary's Glacier and have us experience that. And that day apparently was very cold. It was one of the colder days that Umit has ever experienced. So, and I was freezing. So, and obviously at that height, it's a little cooler than if you were down, lower underneath. But so it was a little windy, and I didn't want to touch the water at first because I didn't want to cop out last second. And, I just went right into it, changed over right behind a couple shrubs. We climbed up to the point where we would jump off the cliff. And when I tell you, I was up there for 3 minutes just contemplating. I was literally screaming.
I have video proof.
Yes, we have video proof. I was screaming. I was praying. I was like, dude, this is like, I was just contemplating my life. And it's funny because the lake isn't super huge, so there are people on the other side of the lake that can literally watch you. And I was up there so long that there was a little kid out in the background, and the little kid was like, just jump already. And I was like, dude, like, oh my God, like these guys are just watching me. And then another lady in the background was counting down, and she was like, 3, 2, 1. And I'm like, oh God, I have to jump now. So then I just jump, and dude, the jump was like 2 seconds of like a descent, and then I hit the water, and my world just, like, my entire body just constricted. And, like, it was the and Umit warned me. He's like, dude, you're going to feel numb. And I felt that numbness. I hit the bottom. My feet touched the bottom. And then I just immediately just swam up. And I remembered when I swam up and I reached the surface and my head popped out of the water, I wanted to scream in joy, but I literally couldn't. I literally was like, and then after like maybe 5 attempts, I was finally like, woo! So it was just an awesome experience. I think we jumped from like 15, 20 feet. So that doesn't sound too high, but when you're up there and you're looking down at the water, you're up there for 3 minutes contemplating your life. So
Well, you specifically.
Yeah, well, me specifically, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a really cool experience.
What about you, Umit?
I mean, it wasn't my first time going there, so I've gone cliff jumping there twice now. It's interesting because, like, the first time I went, it was like 70 degrees up there, and so it was actually really warm. And so, like, when you took off your shirt and you were getting to the spot, like, you felt warm. And so when you jump into the ice cold, it felt refreshing, even though it was numbing. Like, literally, as you're swimming away, you can feel, you're losing feeling in your arms and legs, and you're just sort of like, just keep going. But the second you got out of the water, you'd heat up again. This time, it was like 50 degrees there, and there was an ice cold wind that was blowing through.
Oh, man.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, we literally stood up there and, like, wanted to jump once the wind stopped, just so we weren't freezing the whole way. But, like, the water hit much colder. Like, it took forever for my legs to get feelings again. Like, they were so numb, and same with my hands. But it was fun. The first time I did, I didn't hit the bottom. So this time when I hit the bottom, I was a bit surprised, because I didn't realize it was, like, I don't know, that close. Or I guess it was the way I jumped in. But I definitely hit the bottom this time.
The lake probably just got a little more shallow.
Yeah, I don't know what it was.
Or
but
you're more confident when you jump.
yeah, it could be. Like, I think I went in more,
Aggressive.
more straight-footed.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, speared me down to the bottom. Whereas last time, like, the very first
You
time I
were
jumped,
scared.
I couldn't decide whether I was going to cover my nose, my ears, or whatever. So my hands were, like, flailing back and forth in the video. Whereas this time, like, my hands were on my sides and I just jump. And so, but it's a really cool experience. It was my first time cliff jumping the last time I went. And so I was like, this is so cool. I'm going to take my friends here. And yeah. And it's also beautiful nature in that area too.
Yeah, I could attest to that. It was. I just took so many pictures. Like, literally, it's in the middle of summer, and there's glaciers literally at the top of these mountains. What about you, Pierre? Did you jump into that lake before?
No, I haven't yet, but I've been trying to plan to do it. I just have work whenever he's free. So,
Yeah. Definitely have to take him to jump.
for sure.
You confident in your swimming?
Oh, yeah, I can swim.
Even if your arms go numb?
Bro, I'm from Alexandria. We lived in the water.
Different temperature water there. though.
Yeah, right? I'm down, though. It sounds super exciting. And I mean, I like nature. I could swim well enough. I have survival instinct, so.
Survival instinct.
We'll make it
You
there.
definitely need that.
I'm gonna turn into a fish.
We'll make
Like,
it
I'm
good.
ready.
I'll just change forms. You know?
What about you? How's the nature here compared to nature in Ohio?
Oh, there is no nature in Ohio.
Really?
I mean, the most that you'd see in like Ohio is what's it called? Hocking Hills. Like me and some family and friends would go there, and like it was wild because I mean I moved from Egypt when I was 4, so I've been in Ohio for my entire life. I'm 20, almost 25 now, and before moving here, I thought Hocking Hills was crazy. Like mountains, all this kind of stuff. Oh, it's super high. It's natural. And then I come here and like the smallest foothills here are bigger than the highest, in air quotes, mountains in Ohio. So I mean, it's a whole different vibe. I mean, everything here is beautiful, even if it's not supposed to be beautiful. If it's just casual like greenery or something, where in Ohio, the things that are supposed to be super beautiful and like Ohioans are proud of, it ain't that much. So that's kind of the comparison. Yeah. Everything here is beautiful.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So the lake was yesterday. And then today we went on a small little safari, if you can call it that. and it made it out to be like we're gonna be seeing like all the wildlife in this area.
I never said that.
Dude, you were over exaggerating this, man.
I didn't. I said you would see bison, and that's what I guaranteed.
That's all you said.
That's all I guaranteed. I was like, we're gonna go see some bison, and there's probably gonna be other animals there too. And
Y'all might see tigers, cheetahs, lions, bears.
no, that's a different park. I wish we could have gone to that one.
Yeah, I mean, maybe next time when we come back to Denver, we can take a look at that. You said it was the Big Cat Wildlife Refuge?
Yeah, it's where the
Alright.
Tiger King's cats are there too. Actually,
Yeah.
all of his tigers are there.
Yeah, like I said, maybe next time.
I got it.
But
Yeah.
But this little quote unquote safari was it wasn't bad. I actually liked it. You know, I think Mendy could also attest to this too.
High praise.
when we went there, it was again where it's the plains. It's pretty much like small hills here and there, but for the most part, you can see pretty much the entire surrounding area. The animals we did see there obviously was the bison. We also saw some prairie dogs. There was like hundreds of prairie dogs, and like just scattered about through the entire area there. There was so many holes that these prairie dogs dug up. And I'm sure every single one of those holes are connected to one another. It's just insane. I've never actually seen a prairie dog in person before either, so I thought that was pretty cool. One was actually pretty close to the car. I was able to take a picture of it. What else did we see? We saw, I think, some elk, some deer.
Some big old antlers.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that was an elk, right?
Yeah, I think that's
Are you sure that's elk?
I don't know what they're called, right? But they got antlers.
They look like deer with antlers.
They had furry antlers.
It probably just is a deer with antlers. I don't know. I'm not a fucking specialist in.
It's a baby moose.
Yeah, it's a baby moose.
We saw a bunch of baby moose.
Mice.
Definitely was not baby moose.
Well, for
Yeah.
sure it's not.
I mean, I've seen moose in the mountains.
Really?
You're
Yeah.
looking at one right now.
That's scary.
Yeah,
No.
Mendy's wearing an Abercrombie & Fitch with the moose logo.
No, I had gone camping in the mountains for 3 days, and then on the drive back to like go home, all of a sudden we noticed that there's like a whole lane of cars with their blinkers on and just on the side of the road. We're like, what the heck happened? What's going on here? We look to the side and you just see this giant moose, literally like just traveling the side of the road.
That's just a normal moose. All moose are giant, and I learned that the hard way. I got scared so much at the Columbus Zoo.
They are huge.
This thing could have just headbutted me from the bridge.
like
It's like 10, 15
Moose are
feet.
big.
It's like
huge.
The Columbus Zoo has this little like bridge over 15 feet of water, and I promise you, this moose could have headbutted me over that 15 feet of water.
I'm pretty
They're
sure.
enormous.
I'm pretty sure moose out in the wild can actually kill a bear.
They
They're-
could.
they're- Yeah,
Easy.
they're
I wouldn't say
huge.
easy.
If it charges, it's game.
Yeah, but it has to charge first. It's a bear. What kind of bear would
In
you?
ideal situations, the moose could win.
Yeah, they're like
Moose
rocket
could
tanks.
easily win, in my opinion.
Like, I've never seen a moose in person,
They're scary.
but like I've seen videos and photos that people have taken, and it'll just like for reference, it'll be like somewhere in Canada, and a moose will just be out in someone's front yard, and the moose will be sitting next to like a regular Honda sedan, and it towers it. It's huge. It's at least 2 to 3 times taller than it when it's just standing on all fours.
It's a lot bigger than you would expect mooses to be. Mice.
I think it is meese. I thought it was meese.
No,
Meese.
that's a trick
Meese.
that I did to you years ago when we were younger.
I don't remember you telling that to me.
I was trying to convince you goose is geese, so moose must be meese. And I can't believe that stuck with you.
I don't remember you telling me that. But anyways,
Those prairie dogs are cute as hell.
They're like the squirrels of Colorado.
I took
though.
so many pictures, man, and like Yusuf said, it was the first time I've ever seen prairie dogs too. And honestly, with the amount that there were, they were literally like squirrels. I think Pierre said that earlier today. Like prairie dogs in Colorado are pretty much squirrels everywhere else.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Speaking of squirrels, we actually at the lake we also did see a chipmunk.
Yeah, we saw baby.
The chipmunk got so close to me. I was literally just standing still. I was like, "Oh, look, a chipmunk!" And he's just getting closer and closer to me. And then he's just standing at the right in front of my shoe. And I'm like, is this dude about to jump on me? And then I kind of just like shoo it away because I didn't want him to jump on me.
Yeah, they're wild, dude.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
Wild. But yeah, so we saw the prairie dogs first, and it was funny because prior to entering that area, there's like a sign that says you're now entering bison territory or whatever. and we were literally driving for like 30 minutes, and no bison is in sight. And I'm like, dude, this is such like a ripoff. I mean, it was free to begin with.
Well, your time is money, so
yeah,
it's
so,
a ripoff.
Yeah, so it's like, dude, where are the bison at? And then we started seeing these prairie dogs, so that was like nice. It was a nice opener to the travels. And then eventually, we see a couple cars ahead of us, and they're all like parked off to the side. We're like, what's going on here? And then we park up behind them, and to the right is like all the bison in the entire area put together. And they're all just lounging, just sunbathing, rolling around in the dirt. Just, I don't know. They were crazy. I've never seen a bison before ever, too. And like, I don't know, they look like wildebeests, man. They look like wildebeests and lions. The way they have, like, the males at least, they have so much hair on their like neck and their upper back and their head, and it was a crazy experience. I took a lot of pictures of that too, so
Those
that was
boars
really
are
cool.
Huge too.
Yeah,
Giant.
they're big.
I think a couple of them were just charging each other. I think there was like some beef going on.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
So, like, they're
world
beef.
star.
Unfortunately, I don't know if I should say unfortunately, but because I don't want any of them to get hurt.
They
but
do their own things.
I really kind of do wish we did see like a full on like charge and like a little battle between them. But the only thing we saw was just them kind of just
It's like
roughhousing a
bluff
bit.
charges.
I should have just thrown a rock at one of them and instigated it.
No.
But
That would have been.
You would have instigated your own life.
Mendy can't come next time.
They're gonna come for the rock, not for each other.
Yeah. So as well after the bison, Umit, I don't know why he wanted to take us to this Rattlesnake Hill, and I'm sure you guys could guess what is in this area. So we literally park out and on the side of the road, and he's taking us up to this hill, this Rattlesnake Hill, and like on the way up there, I didn't hear anything. So when we get to the top, it's a beautiful view. You get because this is probably the highest point in the surrounding plains, so you can see everything in every direction. It also had a bunch of telescopes too. For I guess it's like a popular tourist spot, so people can come. You can look through telescopes, see pretty far. But on the way back, Umit wanted to take the sketchier trail, and he's like, "I want to see some rattlesnakes." And me and Mendy just looked at each other. We're like, "What? No, we don't. We don't want to see rattlesnakes." Like rattlesnakes, they're not known to really attack humans for no reason. But I'm not trying to give this rattlesnake a reason at all. But this kid wants us to, walk through this trail back to the car. Luckily, we didn't come across any rattlesnakes.
Unfortunately.
Shut up.
But
on the way back, I don't know about Umit because he keeps denying it. Me and Mendy, we definitely heard some rattling. Not like a full-blown rattle. It's just more like you would hear, like if the snake was slithering along, maybe its tail just bumped on like some grass or whatever, and it rattled a little bit. But I was getting super paranoid, and I really wanted to get back to the car as quick as possible.
Yeah, so I'm with Yusuf here. My sight is bad, but my hearing is not. And I'm pretty sure I heard on 2 occasions rattling in like the surrounding like shrubs or whatever. And like I'm in the back, and when we were going up the hill, I was in the middle. And you know how like as kids you always want to be in the middle just because you know that if a monster comes, they're going to pick the people off from the sides. So that was my mentality going up the hill. And coming down the hill, I found myself in the back, and Yusuf and Umit just like stopped right in front of me, and I hear the rattling, and I'm like, dude, no, we're not playing this game. Like we gotta go. I'm not trying to be in the back right now, like get jumped on by a rattlesnake. But yeah, that was also a cool experience. Like Yusuf was saying, at the top, it is kind of higher than the surrounding area, so another good spot to take panorama pictures if you're heading over to the state to get some scenery in.
What was that place called, Umit?
I don't know.
The Arsenal Wildlife Refuge or something like that.
Arsenal Wildlife Refuge.
There you go. So check out that place on your itinerary as well if you
heading
ever
out.
visit Denver. But yeah, overall that experience was good. Yeah, maybe it was a little unfortunate that we didn't actually see a rattlesnake, but the experience was still nonetheless really cool. So I appreciated that.
Umit actually wanted to take us on to a 14er today. So for you people that don't know what a 14er is, that just means that you would be hiking a trail up to the top of a 14,000 foot mountain. And so what Emmett said was it would be 3 hour hike up and then 2.5 down. So I immediately said no once he told me it was a 14,000 foot mountain.
I was fine with it, but apparently it's not ideal to hike it up without like some sort of extra protective layering, like a windbreaker. Apparently it's really cold up there, which shouldn't come as a surprise. I mean, we went up St. Mary's Glacier, which wasn't even high, and that was making me freeze. So I could only imagine going up 14,000 feet would definitely make you feel some type of way. But yeah, unfortunately, we didn't have any cold weather gear, so we opted not to do that on our trip. But if you ever do come and visit, I would say pack a windbreaker so that you can experience that 3 hour hike up a 14er and then 2.5 hour hike back down. And, you know, I'm big on pictures throughout this trip, so it's a little sad I didn't get to go up there and take pictures, but that would definitely be probably the best spot to take pictures because you are so high up at that point. And yeah, it's Colorado. And when I think of Colorado, I think of mountains. And
yeah, the Rockies.
That would have been like, you know, the epitome, no pun intended, of the experience. So yeah. What about you, Umit? How did you? You did do one before, correct?
I've done 3 so far.
So how
cool.
3 different ones or 3 same?
2 are the same, and so I've done 2 different ones, and I've done one twice. Because I had some friends that wanted to do it, and obviously I wanted to pick one I was already familiar with for their first experience so that I knew it was safe and which one was the easier ones to go on. But yeah, I've done Mount Bierstadt and I've done Quandary Peak. Quandary's a bit lesser known. Mount Bierstadt's like the most famous one here. Like if you ask anybody at 14er, that's the first one in their mind and it's considered the easiest. And it's definitely an experience. Like as you're going, you're like, you just want to give up. You're like, is it worth it? Like, should I keep going? Like, you'll be like, man, I should just turn around. But, you know, you just keep putting one leg in front of the other. And once you get to the top, it's so worth it. Like, it's so beautiful. And then you have that sense of accomplishment. Like, dang, I really just climbed a 14,000 foot mountain. Like, yeah. And the view it rewards you with is just amazing. And everybody on these trails at the top is so friendly. Like, the people are great too. Like, they'll pass out signs for you that say like the exact altitude you're at, so you can like take pictures with a sign that shows how high you've gone, or like they'll take photos for you of you. Like, everybody's just so friendly because everybody has like this shared sense of accomplishment by all being at the top. And so everyone's so friendly and you chat and do everything.
There's euphoria up there.
Yeah, definitely. So I definitely got to take Pierre on his 14er. So
you said you haven't been on one or been up 14er?
So I technically did. It's kind of complicated. So the first month that I went here, my girlfriend's brother, he's really big on camping. So he actually drove us up one of the highest mountains, Mount Evans. Scary. Very scary. I don't want to say I don't recommend driving up there because, I mean, technically you are safe, but it's kind of hard to believe it when there are potholes on a road and you're 14,000 feet up, and if you take a wrong turn, you're going to die. But there was a lot of good stops, kind of like the euphoria, and like everyone's happy, kind of like Umit was saying. But it's worth it when you go all the way up. But a big thing, if anyone plans on going up one of these, is expect altitude sickness. You're going to feel like trash. You're going to be freezing. You'll probably have a headache. All that kind of stuff. That was the only time I've ever experienced this, so odds are if you go up a 14er, that'll happen. But with all those negative things about it, it's 100% worth it. So that was my only experience, and I definitely have been pushing back every time anyone tries to get me to go on one, but it's in the cards. It'll happen.
I'll get him on one eventually.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, how many 14ers did you say there are in the state?
I think there's 52.
52?
There's a lot, but like, we can't climb them all. Like, there are certain ones that you need actual climbing gear to get to the top of. Like, there's
the trail doesn't permit you just a walk?
It's not hiking.
Like
they have different levels, and I think I don't remember what numbers signify what, but I think it's like 1 and 2 are safe. 2 has some like minor like climbing on rocks you have to do, but once you get to 3, it's like some climbing gear might be required. But once you get to level 4 and 5 14ers, you need full on climbing gear to like actually climb the mountains. So
That's insane.
There's a lot of them you just can't do if you're just going to hike it. So I've only focused on level 1s and 2s. And I've looked at some 3s for possibilities in the future, but there's enough 1s and 2s to keep me busy for now, at least.
Yeah, I remember in high school, we took climbing classes. I don't know why, because we didn't fucking have any mountains in the area. But
Climbed about buildings.
yeah, right. But climbing classes, I thought, they were pretty cool. We had our own rock climbing walls in the gym. Mendy probably remembers this too. We went to the same high school. And I remember we had this one gym teacher, Mr. Cole. Do you remember Mr. Cole?
Yeah, I remember. He's such a dork.
Dude, but he's the coolest guy ever.
He was so
man.
cool. He was so
Dude,
cool.
he was so cool. I had him for health class. He would just be like, we would be taking a test. It would literally be like a final exam or something. And I'll just raise my hand and be like, "Oh, Mr. Cole, what do you mean by this question or whatever?" And then he would literally like elaborate on it, and then he would just keep going until he gives me the answer. I didn't say, "Okay, thanks, that's good." I literally just waited, and like he's like, "Yeah, the answer is this, pretty much." I was just like, "Okay, thanks." I didn't want to stop the guys because it was just free A. Yeah. But but Mr. Cole, he was. I bring him up because he was, again, like I said, gym teacher, and he pretty much is this teacher that you would have if you had any of the rock climbing classes. He was super big on it. I think he told me he went the full Appalachian Trail at least twice. So that's all the way from, I think it's in the Carolinas, maybe Virginia's, all the way to Maine. And he went with like another person or something. And he said it took him at least 30, 40 days.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and like so because you're talking about the rock climbing gear, because he would always be super knowledgeable about like the carabiners, different types of rope, how to like your technique and stuff like that. And I mean, it looks pretty interesting. I personally wouldn't really go into it as a hobby. I'm not really an active kind of guy. I'm sure. I mean, what about you? Would you? Because you said you're looking into 3s. Are you? Obviously, you're gonna be looking into the climbing gear and stuff.
Yeah, like there's climbing gyms here in Denver, and I've gone to them, and I find it's a very fun. I mean, there's a different skill set when you're climbing in the wild versus here, right?
Yeah.
These you have handholds that are color coordinated, but they do add like difficult ones. It's kind of like the thing that I like about climbing. It's kind of like solving a puzzle in a way. Like you look at it and you like have to visualize how do you see yourself getting up it
and down.
Down you kind of jump.
I guess that's true because you can rappel down. Yeah. Well, the gyms you can jump down because it's mats. Yeah. But even if you're out in the wild, you can still just rappel down.
Yeah, so it's more about going up, but you sort of have to like visualize it. Like, ooh, do I have to heel hook here to like push myself up, or can I like push myself straight up on this? And so there's definitely some interesting things to it because it's like testing your physical endurance at the same time as like your ability to problem solve at the same time. So I don't know if I would rock climb like in the wild with actual rocks because like I feel like that's a whole different skill set because you have to know the rock type, right? Is this going to crumble if I put pressure on it and stuff? Like, and I don't know any of that stuff.
You need like a minor in geology to.
But it's interesting because like you have the Appalachian Trail on the East Coast, but here we have the Continental Divide Trail that goes through Colorado, and also the Colorado Trail, which is just the state of Colorado. And I actually had someone stay at my apartment that did the Continental Divide Trail, and it was very interesting to hear her story. She was from Germany, and she needed a place to stay, so she stayed here for one night. And she was talking about like how long it took her. Like it took her, I think, like 35 days to do the whole thing, and like it was exhausting, but she said like it's a once in a lifetime experience for her, and it was really cool like just to hear the stories of the things. Like she saw so many different animals on the way and made so many hiker friends along the way, and it's definitely wild to do. I don't know if I would ever do it because that's a long commitment time of 30 something days. It's also expensive. People never talk about that, but to do these long trails is expensive. You need like people to drop off shipments at each of the towns you're going to stop at so you can resupply. Otherwise, if you try to buy it outright in each of those places, it's going to be expensive. So sometimes people like ship care packages to themselves and tell them to deliver it to the towns in certain days. Other people like have like coordinated person that will drop off things to these different towns for them to hike. So it's nothing like it can cost a couple $1,000s to do these whole trails, and that's why a lot of people just can't do them. Like it's cost and time. Like how many people have 30 days off and a couple $1,000s to spend? Nice. So
Yeah, I mean, I like nature, but I don't like nature that much. So I would definitely not do that. Any hike that's going to take me more than a couple hours, actually not a couple, maybe like 4 or 5 hours is fine. That's like probably my max. How long the hike should take in total, there and back. But I'd rather just admire nature from afar for the most part.
I don't know. You got to go backpacking at least once and experience that. Like I've gone 3 days, 2 nights in a forest up here. It's called the Lost Creek Wilderness. It's a very unknown area, but the nature there is absolutely gorgeous. And there's not many people. Like on the whole trail, I didn't see anyone until the last day coming from the opposite direction. We saw 2 people. So it was like we were completely out in nature all on our own. I went with my girlfriend, and so like it was such an amazing experience to do that and like know like, hey, I could actually survive in the wild for a couple days and just be 100% in nature, no technology, no nothing to like rely on or anything. Like it's just you and nature, and you're just gonna keep walking. And I don't know, there's something beautiful to be disconnected from everything, I find.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, I respect that lifestyle for sure. Just because, I mean, hiking, it's taxing on the body. Like Umit was pointing out with like rock climbing, it's a lot of muscular endurance and mental fortitude of being able to, you know, keep putting one foot in front of the other and making it to that destination. But I guess it's all mentality. Like some people can view hiking like, you know, I gotta go from A to Z, and once I hit Z, I'll be happy. And other people might look at it like the journey itself is like what gives them that rush. Like some people can literally just meditate as they're hiking. Like that's just the lifestyle for them. And I respect it because, you know, we live in a world where it's just so modern, and, you know, we all, for the most part, live under like a roof. So when you take a step back and you say to yourself, I'm going to go on this hiking trip, and Umit said like 3 days, 2 nights, like that's a long time to devote yourself to outside of your home. And being able to survive, I think, you know, most people don't have that worries nowadays, but, you know, you go back to like this primitive nature, the way we used to be before all these advancements in civilization. And I think it's just so awesome that you can connect and rekindle yourself back with nature, as our ancestors used to, you know. And just hiking in general, just wherever you go is just such an admirable thing for me. So I think it's respects to everybody that do it.
Nah, fuck that shit. Nah, I'm just kidding.
We got 2,000 people in this world.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's nature. That's all I can say about it.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'll take you on a backpacking trip, and then you'll see if it's just nature.
Fuck no. I'm good. I'm just gonna, like I said, 4 or 5 hours at max.
We can just do 4 or 5 hours a day on the camping trip. And you just set up the tent and go to sleep.
Stop talking. Anyways,
Yusuf is not built like that.
no means no. So I just want to go back to what you mentioned about the mountains and how like rugged is here. How there's like the continental divide, you said, and compare that to the Appalachians. It's just more like a little more like a background of it. So a lot of scientists actually hypothesize that the Appalachian Mountains were the tallest at one point in history. I mean, obviously throughout the, you know, hundreds of thousands, I think maybe even millions of years of weathering. Now it's more of a, I don't want to call it flat, but it's on the flatter end of mountains. It's more widespread. But the Rockies here, they're a lot younger, so they are still, you know, being weathered down through with glaciers, rain, all that stuff, winds. So I feel like that is, I don't know where I'm going with that, but I don't know. I just thought it's just pretty interesting.
Thank you for the history lesson, Yusuf. Normally that's my job, but you got me on this one. I don't know.
Yeah. You didn't know about that?
I'm not a big geologist.
Yeah, so. I mean, well, Mount Everest right now is the youngest mountain range right now in the world.
Interesting.
That's why it's the tallest.
Is it the tallest?
Yeah, Mount Everest. Mount Everest
The youngest is the tallest.
Mount Everest peak is the tallest mountain in the world.
I don't think that's necessarily true, but
Like being how being tallest it correlates with the youngest.
yeah.
I mean, I
don't
guess
think that's true because I mean, if the Earth shapes you to be the fucking tallest, you're gonna be the tallest. You know what I mean?
No, I know what you're saying. Because the thing is, I guess what you're saying, yeah, you're right. Because there could be a mountain that's still forming right now.
Exactly.
That still is the youngest. I should say that's
that was like
tallest.
such a simple way of putting it.
Yeah.
Like if Earth wants you to be the tallest, you're gonna be the tallest.
I guess a better way of saying it would be Mount Everest is the youngest, tallest mountain.
Yeah. I'm definitely not saying like against the idea that the youngest are the tallest. I'm just curious if that's consistently the truth.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure there's
I'm sure there's old heads out there that are tall too. So.
Don't worry, just because you're old doesn't mean you're out of the race.
Yeah.
All right. So we're coming up on almost an hour. We're 50 minutes in. Is there anything specific you guys want to add that maybe stands out in your, experiences here compared to home?
The highways are disgusting and dirty. They're talking about this city being so clean, but the highways are the worst and most disgusting highways I've ever seen.
Here in Denver?
Yes.
I never.
Really?
I mean, I haven't really
They're
driven up and
rough.
down the freeways too much,
They're
but
rough.
They're much better than Philly.
I would.
Yeah,
I
but
would say that.
Philly
Yes, I would
seems
agree.
trashy. But what you guys are saying, that's not
Dude, just watch. It's always
sunny.
sunny in Philadelphia. You see how trashy it
That's
is.
not good. But that is the one thing I've noticed about Colorado. There's a lot of like debris. It looks like styrofoam sometimes. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, there's something.
There's just random
on the
styrofoam just
roads.
floating. There are rocks, little pebbles everywhere. I got a crack in my new car's windshield.
Oh,
Already?
dang.
Yeah,
When that happened?
I don't know, but it happened.
I think it's
I've had it
because,
since
like,
October, so not that long.
they don't really salt the roads as much here. They use gravel a lot.
Bro,
That's what I'm
so
saying,
dumb.
bro. The gravel probably kicks up and smacks your freaking windshield.
There's no probably it did.
So
So that's
why.
the only messy thing, but I mean the rest of it is really clean.
But that's not even like. It's not trash messy. That's like nature messy.
No, there's a lot of trash too.
Is
I'm
it?
not just talking about the pebbles. Why is there styrofoam? Is it like natural
I
styrofoam?
can't talk about the styrofoam.
Yeah,
that
this
is
is
one
weird.
thing I didn't notice. I just
Where did the styrofoam come from?
It's everywhere.
It is.
It's like it rains styrofoam.
Yeah, that's like a whole nother episode. We can talk about that.
Styrofoam conspiracy. Where did it come from?
I
Where
got
did it
I got a
go?
couple hours.
No,
of that.
please don't sing that song. Anyways,
Cyanide Joe, bro.
I mean, you guys obviously have been here longer than me and Mendy have. I just personally haven't really seen any trash out in the streets. Like I said, I haven't been on the freeways as much as you have. I've only just been really in the immediate area here, where Umit lives by the university. But for the most part, people do a really good job of throwing their trash out. I think Umit was saying, like he mentioned before with the alleys, how those are specifically designed for people to only put their trash there, put their trash cans, the dumpsters, and all that. So that way, like in Philadelphia, if you put everybody puts their trash at their door, not their doorstep, but at the side of the road in front of their house. So scavengers can come, squirrels, rats, birds, whatever it is, pick up the trash and then
That's
just
nasty.
it's disgusting. Yeah. So it just gets spread out throughout the city. Like no matter which street you go on in Philadelphia, you're bound to see big clumps of just garbage
Nice.
floating around, especially after a huge storm.
Oh god.
When it's
that's
huge,
the worst.
you're expected to smell on the streets and just see trash everywhere.
You guys sound like a discount New York.
I mean,
Kind
a lot of people argue that if Philadelphia was chosen as the capital, things might have turned out better. But I mean, I don't know how well of a city DC is. A lot of people still say DC
DC
is
is
not that
nasty
great.
and overpriced.
Is it?
Yeah, I did
Oh, it
hear
was
that.
nice.
It's
I heard that-
nasty and overpriced.
It's overpriced, but I don't
Don't go to like the
nasty.
museum areas, the places that are actually funded.
The museum areas are really nice.
It's
So
beautiful.
yeah, I mean that's specifically where our capital, the government is. That's
Yeah.
where the Capitol building.
That's like going
is.
to the Capitol building down here and saying that the rest. Actually, that's full.
That's
of
not
drug
that's
use.
not true because literally the park right across from the Capitol building here
full of
has a lot
heroin
of
users.
a lot of people who are homeless and some people on drugs,
A
and
lot.
so that park is not the cleanest.
That is
Oh,
fair,
jeez.
actually.
So that's the one problem Denver does have. Is
That's
It has a
ironic.
pretty large homeless
Gentr-
population.
The gentrification's rough out here.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Philadelphia is
what
pretty
big,
bad too.
what big city isn't though? Honestly,
Yeah, I mean it's common for gentrification to plow through any city, really.
Yeah.
especially ones that are developing at a fast rate. Like, I mean, from what I've seen going around Colorado, it looks like there is a lot of construction going on.
It's booming.
Yeah, exactly. Excuse me. And Philadelphia, in the past, since like the early 2000s, has also seen its fair share of construction boom and a lot of new apartments, housing, buildings, offices being, plopped down everywhere. And like we were saying, gentrification is a really big problem there. I know at Temple University, the university is trying to get a football stadium to be built right by what was that field exactly? Where the tennis court is?
Giese Field. They're trying to replace like Giese Field and the tennis courts
in the soccer field, right?
in the soccer field. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty much just like it's like a 1x2 block area that they're trying to they want to level and put a football stadium there. And looking at their own schematics and how it's going to look, how they want to look after it's finished, it's just preposterous. Because you have people that will literally live across the street, and every day when they look out their window, they're going to see a huge brick wall just outside. Like, no one wants to see that. Yeah. Like, granted, I know, like, in the city, for the most part, you will see buildings, but I don't think anyone really wants to see a huge brick wall that spans 2 blocks in front of their home.
I mean, it's not only that, like, it's going to be a huge amount of noise, too. Like,
yes, exactly.
For sporting events.
Yeah, both.
Jeez,
like,
that would suck.
Like, imagine being living right across the stadium, like, literally nonstop, like, every game.
Not even just from the game itself. You also have people pre-gaming and post-gaming outside on the streets, too, pouring out of the stadium. So you're going to have drunk college students, drunk anybody, really, that's attending the event. And they'll just like be extremely rowdy. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of damage to cars that are caused because of that. But I mean, there is specifically by the student body a big pushback against the stadium, and which I'm also against the stadium too.
Yeah. And
I don't want it to be built. I think Temple University should just suck it up and accept defeat. There's nothing much else they can do. This is How is this city? It's from like 1800s, right?
What?
1827, if I remember correctly. The Philadelphia. Actually, no. I'm sorry, it was before that. What am I saying? Because it was being considered for the capital.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Don't mind me.
Before 1770s.
I'm sorry, it was the 1600s. I think it was the mid 1600s that the Philadelphia was actually formed. So this is an extremely old city, and planning
extremely old, quote unquote, for America.
Relatively for America. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
But so like it's very difficult, obviously, for the city and university specifically to really, plan out accordingly for the future, because you can't really 100% predict the future. Like, I highly doubt when the founder of Temple, first founded it, that he was going to think that oh my God, we're going to have a huge football team. No, he wouldn't have predicted. He couldn't have predicted that. He was just a preacher or a priest or whatever it was at his local church. But
I mean, let's be honest too. The real big football team there is Penn State, so you really don't need a stadium.
Penn State, yeah. I think Temple's more known for the basketball, right?
Yes.
Are they better than Penn State too?
I think so.
I'm not sure.
Basketball depends on the year.
And anything.
I think it's like with Temple, it's kind of hit or miss.
Penn State's a big school.
Penn State is big.
Penn State's real. Like, they're competing with OSU. I've never heard of Temple.
Well, the thing is, Penn State.
Like, I'm a big straight up.
You never heard of Temple?
Ever. I've heard of North Carolina.
That's not Temple.
That's very far from us.
I know.
Penn State's the closest.
I don't know. They have their years where they do better than others, but when I was there, they were on a dry run.
Do you guys have any chips?
Any chips?
Championships?
Yeah, like championships.
Oh.
Do we have any chips in Philly? Yeah.
We
got all kinds of chips. We got
Utz.
Isn't Utz a Philadelphia brand?
Utz?
UTC?
Yeah. They used to have a factory out there. My friend's dad used to work there, but I don't know if the factory's still open.
Probably not.
They used to have Nabisco there too.
So no championship ring?
I'm not a sports kind of guy, so I don't really care too much about it.
Go Bucks.
But
Is that Ohio's team?
OSU. The OSU.
Is there another OSU?
There's a lot of OSUs.
Is there?
Or like
Oregon State University.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant there was like multiple Ohio State universities.
Oklahoma State University. Like, I see a bunch of OSU when I'm out here in Colorado, and I get excited. And
And
then
then
they
you
say they're from
realize-
Oregon, and I just walk away.
Oregon.
Like, where the hell is that?
Don't be hating on my boy Oregon, man.
But yeah.
All right. Well, we're coming up on an hour right now. It's a nice spot for us to end. Any last minute things you guys want to say? If not, we're just going to sign off. No? All right. Well, thank you for listening, everybody. We've been Deep Thought Podcast. Hope you have a great day. Bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Peace out.